Hello and welcome on Real Talk with Mrs. Fan. Happy Sunday. Good afternoon to you all. How are you doing on this lovely day? I'm doing good myself. Thanks for asking. Because I know you're asking, how are you, Mrs. Fan? I'm good. And how are you? So I'm very, very happy to welcome you on today's program on your Real Talk with Mrs. Fams. I just want to say thank you to all our listeners, to all our regular callers. For those of you who text, send your voice notes, messages, I just want to appreciate you. Like I always say, there is no Mrs. Fam without you. So we are all together on this. This is our community. This is a way that we are growing this community by engaging, by interacting, sharing our, thoughts, our experiences, advices, Thank you so much. And I just want to remind people that if you want to sponsor your services, your product, what you do, you can connect with us. We can, do business together, just so you have more reach out to people. People know what you're into, what you're doing, what you stand for, and then if you want to shout out to your loved ones, this is the best platform to call in, send your love messages, well wishes to your employer, to your colleagues, to your neighbors, to your friends, to your families, to your children, to your partners, to your husbands, your wife. So if you're just joining, this is your favorite host on the radio, Olayinka Omotayo Fambebe, aka Mrs. Fams, on your favorite show, Real Talk with Mrs. Fams. So today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people don't like talking about. With me on this program, we go real, we go deep, we talk real talks. That's what we do, especially on this program. Today we're going to be discussing will. Yes, you heard me. Will. Will. Do you have a will? That is planning for the inevitable. Do you have a will? So once again, I welcome you on today's program, and we're going to be going right deep into the topic now. In many African homes, talking about will is like talking about death. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that. When we talk about will in African homes, you're basically talking about somebody is dying. It's so uncomfortable. The topic, it's just something that most people do not like talking about. Some people believe that writing will is kind of scary, is disrespectful, it is totally unnecessary. This may be due to their religion, their cultural beliefs, so many reasons why some people cannot or do not want to write wills. But today we're going to be discussing this topic because I just don't want to do it on my own. Like I always say, I don't like discussing this alone. I want people to call in, send their messages. I want to understand how this has affected a lot of people by not writing their will. So today we are going to discuss this. We're going to be very respectful because we're going to be sharing, this with love. We're not going to be judging people, because unfortunately this topic has caused a lot of family enmities, and a lot of things has happened because of the lack of writing will. So what is a will? A will is a legal document that explains what should happen to your money, your property, your children, your business, your possession after your death. I'm going to take that again. A will is a legal document that explains what should happen to your money, your property, your children, your business, your possession after your death. It helps protect your loved ones and ensure your wishes are respected. It ensures that your wishes are respected. So without a will, families can face family disputes, long legal battles, loss of homes or properties, conflict between relatives, between children. In fact, it can make your children become vulnerable, and businesses can collapse, when there is no will in place. A will gives clarity, it gives direction, and it gives protection. I'm going to take that again. A will gives clarity, protection, and direction. So we're going to be discussing now why do many people avoid writing wills? I'm going to ask some questions. So if you get the chance to call, you can answer some of these questions, but along the line I'm going to answer some of these questions myself. Why do many people avoid writing wills? Is discussing death still considered taboo in your family? When you discuss will, is it considered as somebody dying? Have you witnessed family conflict because someone died without a will? Do you think culture or fear stops people from planning? At what age should someone start thinking about will? That's tricky. At what age should someone think about, writing a will? You may be surprised that a lot of people don't write will. Even a lot of adults don't have any will written anywhere. But before I go back to that, I'm going to start reading some text messages. We have quite a few here. It is going to be an interesting one, but it is sensitive at the same time. Like I said, we're going to be very mindful and respectful on today's topic. So this is, there is no name, but good afternoon, Mrs. Pham. My name is Nkechi from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. In many African homes, talking about a will is almost seen as inviting death. But I say it differently. Having a will is an act of love and responsibility. It protects your spouse and children from unnecessary disputes when you're gone. We insure our cars, our businesses. Why shouldn't we plan for our families too? Thank you for that. I'm going to take another one. This is from Ade from Croydon. Thank you, Ade, for your contribution. I have seen families torn apart after death of a loved one simply because nothing was documented. Brothers stopped talking to brothers and children ended up in court. A will doesn't mean you're expecting to die soon. It means you're mature enough to prepare for life's uncertainties. Thank you so much for that, Ade from Croydon. I'm going to go on to the next one. This is from, there is no name. So good afternoon, Mrs. Pham. This is Samuel from Ibadan. I beg your pardon, Samuel from Ibadan. Sorry about that. So thank you, Samuel from Ibadan. My question is, why do many African parents spend years building wealth for their children, but avoid spending a few hours documenting how those assets should be shared? We prepare for weddings, retirement, education. Why don't we prepare for the one event that is going to guarantee to happen to every one of us? Thank you so much, Samuel, for sharing that. Hello, Mrs. Pham. This is another one. This is Ruth from Johannesburg in South Africa. Thank you, Ruth. One misconception I often hear is that wills are only for rich people. That's not true. Whether you own a house, land, a business, savings, or even have young children, you need a plan. Every adult should consider having a legally recognized will. Thanks so much for your contribution. This really stood by me. Whether you own a house, a land, a business, savings, or even have young children, you need a plan. Every adult should consider having a legally recognized will. That's a very powerful one. Thank you for your contribution. So I am going to go back to why do many people avoid will? I'm sure most of that has been answered. from the people that have sent us the text message. Naira estate in Nigeria, a massive commercial properties, and a beautiful family home. He assured me, darling, this is for our retirement and the children's future. But unknown to me, under intense pressure from his extended family back in Nigeria, he married a second wife, traditionally over there. He kept it hidden, saying the regular trips were just to manage the construction. Last year, he suffered a stroke and passed away in Nigeria. Mrs. Pham, the hostility from his extended family was instant and cold. They completely aligned with the Nigerian wife because all of the titles, the documents, and the investments were registered in Nigeria, and he left absolutely no will or legal protection for his UK family. They staged a brutal hostile takeover. They locked my children and me completely out of his estate. His brothers told me to my face the fact that I am a foreigner and my children are outsiders who don't belong to the soil We couldn't even go to the burial because of explicit security threats. Now, my kids that I read, this is years and years of putting resources together as a family and, not even having access to it. This is really sad. It is traumatic. It's not a good experience. Having to work day and night to build houses, to build businesses, and then you have no access to it. It's really, really sad. And it's something that we have to start talking about, that we can't just let it go. It's something we need to address as a community, as Nigerians, as Africans. And the conflict itself that surrounds it, brothers fight each other, families fight, it's just too much. It's so overwhelming. Nobody trusts each other. Someone says, this is what my daddy said, this is what my mother said before she passed, but when there is no legal document to bind this, in fact, some families say, because you're a woman, you don't have access to, our father's property. You can only get married and, take whatever belongs to you from your husband's house, not here, because you're a woman in this family, you have no access. I believe some cultures still practice that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to believe that some families still say, oh, because you're a woman, you don't have access to this. So do you think culture or fear is stopping people from planning? Because I know there is cultural factors. I know the fear of, I am going to die. I don't want to talk about it. But like somebody said, when we're not talking about it, how are we securing the family? What is the purpose of acquiring this wealth when we cannot secure? Like somebody said, you build this thing for many years, you build houses, but you only need maybe around 1 hour or 2 hours to gather family together, or to gather yourself even together with your lawyer to talk about how you want these things to be done. And then at what age should we start preparing for this? What age? I want people to advise me on that. What age should we start preparing? Should there be a particular age? Or is it when, like somebody said, when you have properties, when you have businesses, it doesn't matter what age, you have the right thing. I mean, you have the assets that you want to protect. I think age doesn't come in. I am not a professional. I am hoping to bring one in, to educate us more around this topic. But personally, I don't think there should be any age restriction towards writing a will. Because from what people have shared, like the lessons they have learned about not writing the will, the position that it puts families, the enmity that comes, after the death of that person, it's something that we don't want to happen to us. And it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. So I'm going to get a bit of statistics. In the UK, about 44% of adults have a will, meaning roughly 56% don't. In Nigeria, the situation is even more stark. Around 70% of people die without a will, meaning only 30% or fewer have one in place. I'm going to take this text message. Good afternoon, Mrs. Pham. This is Anonymous. Okay, that's fine. Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday to you too. Happy Sunday. Please keep me anonymous. My husband was a very good man, a provider, a brilliant accountant. We lived comfortably in London, but he suddenly collapsed and died of a heart attack 2 years ago. He was only 52. Very sad. I'm so sorry. After the shock and the burial, reality hit us. My husband always told me, don't worry. If anything happens to me, you and the kids will never suffer. I have heavily invested back home in Nigeria. But Mrs. Pham, he never gave me specific details, account numbers, or documents because he believed a man must keep his financial cards close to his chest. He didn't leave a will. When I traveled to Nigeria to trace his assets, it became a nightmare. I knew he bought 4 acres of land in an expensive part of Lekki through his childhood best friend. When I confronted the friend, the man looked me dead in the eye and said, "Which land? Do you have any receipt bearing his name?" He was only acting as my agent. Because my husband trusted him blindly,
force and he cannot control them. So now we have only the president to respond. The president is telling us even before our time, someone made a sacrifice with an animal. So we don't understand what is going on. Are we animals? Are we being sacrificed in Nigeria?
Hmm.
So that is
Honestly,
the
this is
issue.
this is
And the
sad.
list go deep.
Yeah.
It, it goes deeper
Is
than
this
what we can
politics?
think of.
I don't. I mean, why would people play politics with lives? When are we going to stop this? And then and the insensitivity for me is just, I don't understand. I can't comprehend. Things like this happen, and yet some people believe that life goes on. Yes, life goes on. But should we not talk about this? Are we talking about it enough? For me, I believe Nigeria should, like the whole world should know that something is happening now. These are children, these are teachers. Honestly, it's just so
Well,
emotional.
it's very emotional, and the whole world knows. And I think one of the spokesperson for terrorism in Nigeria, severally, not once, not twice, he told everybody publicly. I don't want to mention his name. He told everybody publicly
Please
that
don't, yeah.
this banditry and terrorism, the people in the act, they are our brothers, and we have to accept them. And when they repent, we need to accept them into the society. And recently, he has been banned from entering a particular country in the Arabia. Not once but twice he has been banned, that they don't want him to enter their country. The reason has been stated clearly because it sponsors terrorism. But our government in Nigeria welcomes him anytime he comes home. So if we say we don't know what we are doing in Nigeria, yeah, that's the populace, that is the masses. We don't know. But to the executives, to the government, to the people in power, I believe they know what they are doing.
Should
That's all
this
I have
not
to say.
should a state of emergency, should it not have been declared? Should people not be on the streets? Should people not be there on the streets day and night? Just like a vigil, just coming together as a community, gathered with peace, like peacefully, begging. I know people are reaching out on different platforms, but we should do more than that, just so that
Yeah,
we
Mrs.
can get all the help that we need regarding, releasing these people.
Mrs. Pam, you're right. Nigerians ought to do that. We've seen protesting, maybe even France, for a
Peaceful
rise in
protest now,
cost of,
peaceful one.
yes, peaceful protest in rise in cost of flour for bread. They protested. In Egypt, protest has risen. Nepal is what we don't want in Nigeria. The country was I don't want to use any vulgar word, but the country was disrupted and everything scattered. But in Nigeria or all over the world, anywhere the government or governance is doing something that does not favor the populace or the majority of the citizens, what me I believe is, let's say tomorrow is Monday, right? Let nobody go to work. Let nobody go to work and be on the street.
These are our future. These are children that are going to be the future of Nigeria. What foundation have we even, what I don't. A lot of things have gone wrong, but let's just focus on this, issue of kidnapping. Honestly, I just hope and pray that they get all the help that is needed, so the release can be as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Thank you so much for your contribution.
You're welcome, Mrs. Pham.
Very, very well. Thank you so
Much
much.
honored. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye bye now. Bye for now. Dear it is your responsibility to write a will. And planning a will is nothing to do with, dying. I want to say that again. When you plan a will, it hasn't got to do with death. Sometimes it may have, you know, connections with maybe somebody is dying and they decide to do it. But for most people, you don't have to be at that point or at that stage before you write your will. A will is not inviting death, if I can put it that way. A will is not inviting death. It is protecting the people that you love. So when you write a will, you protect the people that you love and you are not inviting death. So thank you everyone for listening on today's program. I just want to thank you for sharing your experiences, your contributions, and we must not avoid, we must not we must always talk about writing will, encourage each other, like look at the things that has happened to people, the labor, of years of, hard work, and at the end of the day leaving their families, in that state of vulnerability. So I just wanted to thank you again for your contribution, and good night, stay safe, and see you next week. This is Real Talk with Mrs. Pham. See you again. Bye for now.